Imagine a world where machines are so powerful, so dangerously fast, that governments had no choice but to ban them. We're talking about bikes that could outrun supercars, with engines so extreme they blurred the line between motorcycle and missile. But what makes a bike too wild for the streets? Is it the mind-bending top speeds, the bone-crushing acceleration, or the fact that one wrong twist of the throttle could turn a joyride into a death wish? These bikes became legends not just for their power, but for the chaos they left in their wake. They were built to break records, and sometimes bones. But were the bans justified? Or did the world just get scared of riders who dared to chase the limits of human capability? Buckle up, because we're diving into the top 10 bikes so powerful they got banned, and trust me, by the end of this, you might be questioning whether danger is just part of the ride. Number 10. Kawasaki H2R. Let's kick things off with the Kawasaki H2R. This isn't just a bike. It's a supercharged beast that laughs in the face of speed limits. With over 300 horsepower and a top speed of 249 mph, the H2R is basically a fighter jet without wings. But here's the kicker. It's so extreme that Kawasaki didn't even bother adding headlights or mirrors. Why? Because this thing was never meant to see the light of day on public roads. It's a track-only monster, and in most countries, if you're caught riding this on the street, you're not just getting a ticket, you're getting a one-way trip to jail. So the question is, would you risk it for the thrill of riding the H2R? Number 9. Ducati Panigale V4R. Next up, we have the Ducati Panigale V4R. This Italian beauty is as stylish as it is savage. With 221 horsepower, it's like riding a lightning bolt wrapped in carbon fiber. But here's the twist. Some countries looked at this bike and said, nope, too much power for the streets. Can you blame them? I mean, this thing goes from 0 to, oh my god, I'm flying, in the blink of an eye. And let's be honest, if you're not a professional rider, you're probably going to end up in a hedge. So here's a question for you. Do you think bikes like the Panigale V4R should be banned, or should we just let Darwinism take its course? Number 8. MTT Y2K Turbine Superbike. Now, hold on to your helmets, because we're about to talk about the MTT Y2K Turbine Superbike. This isn't just a motorcycle, it's a literal jet engine on two wheels. Yes, you heard that right, it's powered by a helicopter turbine. With 320 horsepower, the Y2K can hit speeds that make even the fastest sports cars blush. But here's the catch. It's so loud that it sounds like a 747 taking off, and its emissions are, well, let's just say the environmentalists aren't fans. So, naturally, it's banned in many places. But tell me this, would you ride a bike that sounds like a jet fighter, even if it means getting dirty looks from every tree hugger in a 10-mile radius? Number 7. Suzuki Hayabusa. The Suzuki Hayabusa. The name alone strikes fear into the hearts of speed limits everywhere. The first gen Hayabusa was so fast, 190 plus m fast, that it sparked a gentleman's agreement among manufacturers to cap top speeds at 186 mph. Can you imagine being so fast that you literally changed the rules of the game? But here's the funny part. Some countries looked at the Hayabusa and said, yeah, no, this is too much. So they banned it. But let's be real, if you're riding a Hayabusa, you're not just breaking the speed limit, you're breaking the sound barrier. So here's a question. Do you think the Hayabusa deserved its bad boy reputation, or was it just misunderstood? Number 6. BMW US1000RR. Now, let's talk about the BMW US1000RR. This bike is like the German engineering version of a Swiss Army knife. It's precise, powerful, and packed with tech. With 205 horsepower, it's a rocket ship disguised as a motorcycle. But here's the thing, some countries looked at the S1000RR and said, this is too much bike for the average rider. And honestly, they're not wrong. If you're not careful, this thing will have you doing wheelies at 100 mph but without even trying. So here's a question for you. Should bikes like the S1000RR come with a warning label? Or should we just let people figure it out the hard way? Number 5. MV Agusta F4 1000R. Next up, we have the MV Agusta F4 1000R. This bike is like the Panigale's older, angrier brother. With 174 horsepower, it's a brute force of nature. But here's the kicker. It's so raw and unfiltered that some countries said, nope, too dangerous. And honestly, can you blame them? This bike doesn't just ride, it attacks. So, here's a question. Would you take on the F4 1000RI, or would you rather stick to something a little more tame? Number 4. Aprilia RS V4 1100 Factory. Now, let's talk about the Aprilia RS V4 1100 Factory. This bike is like a wild stallion, beautiful, powerful, and completely untamed. With 217 horsepower, it's a force to be reckoned with. But here's the twist. Some countries looked at the RS V4 and said, yeah, no. This is too much bike for the streets. And honestly, they're not wrong. If you're not a pro, this thing will have you eating asphalt faster than you can say Aprilia. So, here's a question. Do you think bikes like the RS V4 should be banned? Or should we just let the pros have all the fun? Number 3. KTM 1290 Super Duke R. Now, let's talk about the KTM 1290 Super Duke RI, also known as the Beast. With 180 horsepower, this bike is like a wild animal on two wheels. It's aggressive, it's loud, and it's not for the faint of heart. But here's the kicker. Some countries looked at the Super Duke and said, nope, too much bike for the streets. And honestly, can you blame them? This thing is like riding a tornado. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and absolutely thrilling. So, here's a question. Would you tame the beast, or would you rather watch from a safe distance? Number 2. Honda CBR 1100 XX Super Blackbird. Now, let's take a trip down memory lane with the Honda CBR 1100 XX Super Blackbird. This bike was one of the original speed demons, with a top speed of 190 plus mph. But here's the twist. It was so fast that it faced bans and restrictions in some countries. Can you imagine being so fast that governments had to step in and say, slow down? Buddy, so here's a question. Do you think the Super Blackbird deserves its place in the Hall of Fame? Or was it just too much for its own good? Number 1. Triumph Rocket 3. Finally, we have the Triumph Rocket 3. This bike is like the Hulk of motorcycles. It's big, it's bulky, and it's ridiculously powerful. With a 2500C engine and 165 horsepower, it's a muscle bike in every sense of the word. But here's the kicker. Some countries looked at the Rocket 3 and said, nope, too much bike for the streets. And honestly, can you blame them? This thing is like riding a freight train. It's massive, powerful, and absolutely terrifying. So, here's a question. Would you take on the Rocket 3, or would you rather stick to something a little more manageable? So, there you have it, the top 10 bikes so powerful, they got banned. From supercharged monsters to jet-powered beasts, these bikes are the stuff of legends. But here's the real question. Do you think these bans are justified, or should we let riders unleash these beasts on the open road? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this ride, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more high-octane content. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and the throttle wide open. See you on the road.